Start the recording, switch screens. Alright guys, welcome back to our 10th episode of Adiona. Just have a couple quick announcements here. The first being is that thanks to holidays and basically Tuesdays being a crapshoot, today will actually be the last episode until January 22nd. So we are going to take almost a full month off here, unfortunately, and that is due to my own schedule and the holidays. So hopefully, we're still going to go strong on the 22nd, but as I said, we're kind of out of the game for a month. I know it sucks, I know it hurts engagement, but them's the beans. The other thing I have to note is that we do have our brand new player with us today. Hopefully he's not scared off. He'll be coming in a little bit ways into the session. But I thought I would make the offer for any of you to do the recap so that I don't have to do it. And if you do, I will give you momentum.
Man, I knew I should have written something down.
Okay.
I will offer to do so in a really broken way, since I suppose this is my mission that's gone to shit.
I mean, as long as you get the main points down, I think that's okay.
Alright, let me pull up my personal notes so I can at least complain accurately.
I just remember a tribble.
There was indeed a tribble in last session.
Seal away that tribble. Never let it out.
Oh, it got away.
That's the problem.
Or was it even there to begin with? So many.
It was there. I saw it. I saw it.
Or was it simply a manifestation of Havoc's crazy, insanity-losing mind?
I highly doubt that.
I would prefer that. But in any case, I suppose this recap and this story starts out with attempting this incredibly arduous first contact mission. We attempted to, and I'm already forgetting the names of species. Great recap, Wolf Dog.
The Muuat, maybe?
Not the Muuat.
So this is when the game starts gaining threat.
Yeah.
You know
I'm
what?
Yeah.
I'll just do a quick recap because I have a pretty good memory. All right. So the crew of the Adiona, the away crew, have decided to make first contact with the Muuat race, and upon arriving, they found out that the entire species is incredibly religious and following the Dorhini, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, as gods. We have, after looking at the species and realizing that simply telling them they're not gods and having one of their gods tell them is not going to work, we have decided to instead plant a message inside their main system of worship to tell them that they are not gods. Unfortunately, things went haywire when we found out that we needed to have a Dorhini pass, basically DNA or nanomachines that matched the system in order to access the login, which they actually had a different Dorhini logged in than our good old Andromeda. And so we were tackled to the ground, and suddenly time stopped as our favorite headache, the Q, has shown up to offer a deal.
Yeah, that's more or less the nitty-gritty of it. There's some minor details about Andromeda species, but you can go watch one of the other videos that I put out about that. What's important is that we cut to the Muuat Temple, where most of you have been tackled to the ground, and everyone but Commander Morgan is frozen in time. Morgan, you're just kind of looking around and trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and then there's just the slow clap of a woman, and you turn to look, and it's none other than Q herself. And she says, "Well now, you've gotten yourself into a fine little pickle. Would you like my help?"
I'm gonna look around I'm gonna see if I could, if I still have my tricorder on me, I'm gonna pull it out to attempt to take some reading.
Sure. You pull out your tricorder, you begin to scan, and you blink, and the readouts simply read back. Maybe you should pay attention to me, not the tricorder.
I just wanted to see if you were actually going to do something like that, just to confirm my. I mean, I already knew, but anyway, to answer your question, I appreciate it, but no, thank you.
Are you sure? Do you know what they're going to do to you?
Well, I wouldn't mind a hint.
The hint involves a lot of flaying of limbs, some light dismemberment, and by light dismemberment I mean very gruesomely. And oh, I think they also eat your flesh as kind of a ritual sacrifice thing.
I'm not. I'm not quite sure silicon-based life forms would really eat our flesh, but
Well, it's some primitive symbolic nonsense. I don't really care to know why. I just know that they do.
all right. I have a question.
I might have
What
an
do you?
answer.
Why show up here now? What do you? What's your plan? What game are you trying to play this time?
Oh, well, it's a very simple game. You see, we can't have these Muuat, shall we say, leaving their little corner of the galaxy in their current state. Let's just say that that's a very bad idea for the Andromeda Galaxy, and your galaxy eventually. Something has to be done.
So you say we. I want to know more about this we. Because I didn't come to this conclusion yet.
The Q?
That would help.
Well, that's what I meant by the we.
Oh. Well, in any case, I don't necessarily think, at this point in time, that there's anything that can't necessarily be solved through at least attempted better diplomacy. Are you really going to tell me that you think I have no shot at all whatsoever without divine intervention?
I mean, I wouldn't be here if I thought otherwise. We don't really show up that much. I mean, I know Q has this thing with his pet Picard, but, you know, I only show up when it's really important.
So is this like a blood ritual that I'm going to accept your help and then I'm suddenly cursed? Like, what exactly do you get out of this?
Smug self-satisfaction that I helped solve a problem, and the only reason it got solved was because of me.
I'm going to go turn to Commander Havoc
Aww.
while she's still frozen, and I want to see the look in her face. Whether
it is a very, very annoyed resignation that I am currently being tackled to the ground, and I tried diffusing it by telling them I knew what was wrong.
So it's more angry, more other than contemplative.
It's definitely a bit of annoyance mixed with a resignation. It's not as angry as you've seen me, but definitely angry.
Reluctantly, and I mean incredibly reluctantly, I suppose Morgan is going to put his hand out and say, my first duty is to the crow.
Q just kind of looks at it and says, "Oh, right, they told me about this, the hand shaking thing. No, I don't do that. But perhaps I can tell you this much. There's actually two ways we can go about this. I can either rewind time about 10 minutes. You'd be the only one aware that this," and she motions around, "happened. Or we do option two, and you fix the root of the problem."
And what would that be? What part did I miss?
She kind of holds out her hand, palm up, and you see sort of floating above it is either a scale replica of the Rama Maven, or it is the actual ship itself just shrunk down to fit in her palm. And she kind of shows it to you and says, "Everything started when this went missing. What if it returned in a timely fashion?"
Are you suggesting that we actually use time travel to return the Rama Maven to these people?
Yeah, simply am making it option. Depends on how bold you feel like being.
Man, the Department of Temporal Investigations is not going to like this.
Are they here? I mean, I could bring them here, but I don't think you'd want that.
How far back are we talking?
I was thinking, maybe about a week after its initial launch. Not before, or before, the priest Vinric over there, and she points over at Vinric. Vinric gets his claws into the people's minds and starts twisting things to his own ends. Oh, you know what? There's the third option. You could just kill Priest Vinric.
Yeah, I'm going to not attempt to destabilize the government of a world that I just encountered. But within those other options that you gave me, within those other options that you gave me, I do believe I agree with your assessment that at least when it comes to the Muuat, they're in incredible danger. I don't think 10 minutes is enough to fix whatever possible damage that we may encounter afterward, or that we may cause. So we might as well take it back to the start.
Very well.
DTI be damned.
I'll say that I'll be nice, and I'll let you select who comes with you. I'll put the Rama Maven in the first sector of Muuat space that you arrived in, and you'll find that there's quite the welcoming party there waiting for you. You'll still have to go through the rigmarole of, they think you're gods and emissaries, yada, 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 but I think they'll be much more willing to actually listen to you this time. Also, I'll say you can pick who comes with you.
In the back of my head, in the back of Morgan's head, he's just thinking to himself, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Agreed.
Well then, tell me which one of your friends here is coming along with you. Or, friends up on that little tin boat you call the Adiona.
Well, for this other time travel away mission, and DTI is really gonna not like this. We're going to take my chief engineer. I think our tactical officer, who has been lounging around the ship, may actually be a good choice. I think he has some experience in this field that we may not have seen yet. Additionally, when it comes to the Muuat, it's probably best that we take Andromeda.
Oh, I thought that was implied.
It was definitely implied, but at the same time, I don't want to play any more games, so it's going to be said. Additionally, considering that I'm tired of making a semi-fool of myself, it's probably best that I bring the captain along. And just in case, because we don't exactly know what's coming, and I have no idea what I'm going to encounter, we still need our medical knowledge available to us. So in that case, let's take our ship's doctor.
Alright, so add a character. I have... I have Galen, Havoc, Kalos, however we say that. We'll get to that in a moment. The Captain, Andromeda, Commander Morgan, and those are the only people you want to bring?
Oh, along with, we're going to also bring Ensign Karu with us.
Okay.
as a supporting cast, just in case. And also out of character. Well, out of character. Well, in character, we'll bring we'll bring the we'll bring
Connery?
Connery. Thank you. I was scrolling down the journal, but I couldn't remember which hologram I was bringing.
Yeah, you had Connery with you.
Exactly.
Alright, so let me just get the tokens set up here. Okay. Excellent. Alright, so Q just sort of smiles and says, very well. Try not to screw it up this time. And she snaps her fingers, there's a flash of light, and all of you, as was just described, appear on the bridge of the Realm of Maven. Some of you, well, I would say 90% of you, have no idea why you're here. You were just being tackled to the ground, and the next thing you know, you're sitting on the Realm of Maven. Others of you, Galen and the captain in particular, you were just kind of sitting around on the Adiona waiting for your away team to report in. But now you're here.
Alrighty, out of character moment. We brought the characters with us. What about data?
I would say the data has been preserved.
Okay, so Ensign Kira still has any medical scans she did already.
Yeah, Q would not have taken that away.
And then the physical scans of the hardware we were going over, those would still be there if we had any data from those, right?
Yeah.
Alrighty, and this is when the alien ship appears. Technically, the Andromeda, technically the Adiona is still en route. Is that correct?
Yes. So, as far as you know, you have just appeared on the bridge, but only Morgan knows that you might be a different when.
Yeah. I'm just keeping track of what exact time thing we come into. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm gonna turn around since I suppose I'm still sitting in the captain's chair on the Romulan. I'm gonna turn around and just be like, hello, crew. We have a lot to discuss. Quickly and in a short amount of time.
Wasn't I just getting tackled to the ground? Ow.
You were. And the answer to all of our questions that's gonna come immediately is the Q.
Oh, bloody hell! I knew coming here was a bad idea.
This is Captain Williams speaking up. Did you just say the Q?
I did indeed, Captain.
Science or command?
Well, she took the appearance of a scion.
Oh God!
Alrighty,
give us the nickel tour. What's going on?
So, wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff. We have gone back in time to make sure we could attempt first contact with the Muuat. The correct has a Commander Havoc would remember exactly where we left off. Wasn't in the best of circumstances. We botched it up pretty bad.
They were theocratic psychopaths.
This is, for lack of a better way of saying it, yes. The Muuat are incredibly religious, and first contact did not go as planned. We learned a lot of things about their species in a very short amount of time, and we potentially did more damage than we could undo. So now we get a do-over.
Yeah, but at what cost? Do we even know?
We don't. But at the same time, when I was in the moment and I saw the crew being tackled to the ground, you know how it is. The first duty is to the crew. This is the deal that I made to make sure so I can ensure their safety on the best of terms. But at the same time, I think, at least in our present concern, it's less to do with Q's game and more to do with how we handled the Muuat. And you all have been selected here, probably taken from whatever time you were at before, because I thought it necessary to at least have experienced officers here when we're trying to do this over again.
Galen is going to walk over to Connor and look at his armband.
Okay.
The armband, I think it is.
I'm trying to remember the special armband. Remind me, because I'm drawing a blank.
Had the name Galen etched into it.
Ah, yes, then it is.
Very well. Captain,
Yes.
Temporal Prime Directive. Starfleet has several rules and laws, and of course the Temporal Prime Directive regarding any tampering with timeline. So I'll make that noted, please.
Yeah, I think that goes without saying there.
And we're also self-fulfilling. Do we have a shuttlecraft aboard this vessel?
We still should.
What type is it?
Let's cut to Kalos, so Kalos can start contributing. So Kalos, as you do in fact find that there is a shuttlecraft, as was determined before, it was a Type 9 shuttlecraft and the Valkyrie fighter. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Kalos, including if I'm saying his name completely wrong, and then go ahead and hop into this RP. Make yourself known.
Yeah, we gotta edit his border too.
I'm Bajoran, head of security. I'm pretty serious guy on missions, but pretty relaxed off missions. Try to get the job done with securing the crew as best I can and protecting everyone else, even if it means myself getting wounded. Oh, I am a Betazoid. Sorry. Been watching Deep Space Nine. Apologies.
You a psyker or a
I am a telepath.
I prefer psyker, but that's fine.
No, psychers you don't want, because I do have the Perils of the Warp Table. I have that in every game. I will make you roll on it.
No, we just got the science EQ involved. I'm pretty sure we just went through the Eye of Terror.
Yeah. I do feel that reading minds is like reading stories in motion because they're constantly changing. So he does enjoy his gifts, but at times it can be very overwhelming. But he uses it to make sure no one's planning to attack anyone if he can kind of cancel the noise out. In an interrogation, it has proven fruitful.
Alrighty. Give me a sensor sweep there, Commander. Let's find out what our situation.
Aye, aye.
So, Kalos, this is going to be for you, a reason security. And if someone wants to grab the Romulmaven sheet, this is going to be a sensor security. And the difficulty here is going to be a 1.
I think Captain Morgan should do that. He's skipper in this boat.
I shall indeed.
So I just hit reason security.
If you click either reason or security, it's going to pop up a little menu, and it'll walk you through the entire rolling process.
Okay.
Yeah, you pick one, it asks you for the other.
And then I just roll a 1d20?
No, it's always 2d20 unless you're assisting another person. If you're assisting another person, it is a 1d20.
Alright. Am I good to roll?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Available focus, no?
Well, let's because it's been a while. Let me glance at your focuses here. Let's see.
That's for when my values go towards it, correct?
No. So focuses mean that if one of your focuses applies to the task at hand, if you roll below your discipline score for that task, you basically score crit. So for this, I'm going to say that shipboard tactical systems applies. So if you roll under a 5, it will count as a crit, and this sheet will handle all of that for you.
Alrighty.
Okay, so good news, you did roll successfully. Bad news, you didn't get any successes. And the ship didn't help you either. Wow. Wow.
Well, the ship doesn't count anyway because he needs at least one.
Exactly, yeah. So that is an 18 and a 19. So unfortunately, you aren't able to get a good sensor reading about what's going on outside. It's almost like this is an alien boat and you were put here literally 5 minutes ago and you have no idea what's going on.
Commander Morgan, we're not picking up anything on sensors. Not sure how to run this.
Well, considering everything that just happened within the past 5 minutes, I don't necessarily see that's quite a surprise. Let me see
tried
if
slapping the machine.
Oh, I don't feel that's a good idea there, Connery. But I'll keep that advice in hand.
Commander Havoc, can you actually check to make sure and run a level 1 diagnostic on these to the best of your ability to see if there's anything else with the ship that's we may not know?
On it.
Captain
Right.
Williams is going to go find a spare seat and sit down.
Yeah, just pick a spot on the bridge you like, really. As you can
Yeah,
tell,
that
there's-
looks good.
Yeah, that looks good. All right, so Havoc, you're going to roll me a Insight Engineering, and this is going to be at a difficulty of 2.
And do I have a focus on this?
Yeah, you've got to focus. Hey, look at that. 2 successes, all you need. Good news for our Chief of Security. The problem isn't entirely on him. The reason why you weren't able to get a read on the outside is simply because the main sensor array has been reverted to the very same state that you initially found this vessel in, meaning it is inoperable completely.
So I would. Okay. So I would share that. I'm sorry.
No, that would be Havoc who would know that.
Okay.
In that case, I need to. If we're still not necessarily sure, we need to make sure we get a bearing exactly of what position of space that we're in and how much time we have until we could get this back to the Muuat, or they find us first. I want to make sure. I don't know exactly what timeline we're in now, so I want to make sure that I prepare for both of these. Even though Q
go ahead.
Q says, I'm just saying Q says one thing, but I want to make sure that all my bases are covered.
So Andromeda kind of wanders over to this window over here and peeks outside and says, can one of you turn the ship slightly around, sort of just fire thrusters so that I get a 360 view?
I should probably be able to do that from at least there's probably a small pad on the captain's chair, right?
No, actually, yours is just a chair.
Oh, mine is just a chair. Okay.
Wouldn't that be Connery or Kuru be at that station, or was it the engineers?
I would say it would either be Keru or Connery, but if one of you wants to take over, you certainly can kick them out.
It was definitely Keru that. Oh yeah, Keru was at helm last time. So let's try it again.
All right, fair enough.
So because you guys need momentum, and I forgot to give you the 1 momentum for your recap, so you have 1 momentum. Keru's going to roll me a very basic control plus con, and the ship is going to assist with engines and con, and it's at a difficulty 0. So whatever you roll is free momentum.
I'll go ahead and roll for the ship.
All right. Okay, that's a good start. All right, so you get 2 momentum. And sure enough, Keru just sort of very gracefully has the ship turn around completely. You don't do the Z-axis, you just do the X and the Y. But it goes all the way around. And when you come back around to your initial orientation, Andromeda says, well, do you want the good news or the bad news?
I want all the news, Andromeda.
Well, of course, but all right, fine. I'll just start with this. So the good news is we are back in that initial system we arrived in. The one that we launched ourselves in the catapult from. Or to, sorry. The bad news, or maybe it's the good news, I'm not really sure. I've never really run into this Q figure before. If my suit's telling me the right thing, we're about 49 years, 12 hours, and 8 minutes in the past.
Nothing ventured. That's just my way of coping with the scenario.
Galen, why don't you do an insight medicine for me?
Sure.
Difficulty 1, because I find it funny.
Do any of my focuses that are active apply?
You got psychology, don't you?
It's not active because I didn't switch yet.
You could probably activate and switch whatever.
Alright. I'll do genetic engineering for psychology.
Okay.
So then, yes, I gotta focus.
Alright, so you get a momentum. Even better. Morgan, why don't you tell Galen what he would pick up from a psychological standpoint at this point? I think it's obvious, but I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I am doing my best to mask that I'm barely holding it together because I fucking love time travel, but I hate being a part of it. So Morgan is internally shaken right now because at the same time he understands what's at stake.
Is there a replicator aboard the vessel?
There's one aboard your shuttle.
I'll make my way down there.
Okay. Noted. So Galen is absent for a little bit.
Can I make a insight command on Morgan to see if I can tell his mood as the captain?
Oh, yeah, sure. Certainly. Same thing for you. Well, almost same thing. Insight command for you. Same difficulty. Difficulty 1.
I can't wait for a security officer to read me.
Oh, also,
would diplomacy work into this for a focus?
Yeah, diplomacy would work. Kalos, I'd say you could do a insight command or insight con for you.
God, Captain knows what he's doing. Look at that number. Woo!
And just
I'm glad one of us does.
Yeah, just to not dispel any illusions. I'm doing this because you guys need momentum.
Well, yeah. I know stuff's got to happen sometimes.
Yeah.
So what was the difficulty on that, 1 or 2?
It was 1, so you're actually capped at the moment. Oh man, Kalos, you just love those 19s, man.
Dude, you're supposed to roll low in this game.
It was great if it was D&D. All right, so what's going to happen is I think everyone but Havoc and Andromeda, because Andromeda, well, Keru and... Okay, let me rephrase this. Williams and Kalos, you know that the commander is a hot mess right now. He's keeping it together, but he's not having the best of times.
All right. I'm going to, as the captain, walk over to the commander, just lean over so I can be somewhat private. Hey, Morgan, how you holding up?
I had better days. I'm afraid of having a worse one.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'd still intend on letting you skipper this boat, but if you need me, I'll step in, no problem. But, yeah, I mean, if push comes to shove for this first contact, I'll go ahead and take lead. But I still want you to get the experience of leading this mission to the finish.
Well, I appreciate that, Captain. But considering that I've already screwed this up once, I'm doing my damnedest to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Well, if it's the Q, out of character, does everybody else know about which Q we saw the first time when I was dealing? Yeah, I think Commander Morgan saw the Q the same time I did, didn't he?
No,
I think I was
the only person who's seen Q is yourself and now Morgan.
Oh yeah, so we saw him 2 separate times, not together.
Correct.
Okay, cool. So back in character. Saying, yeah, Commander, if this is the Q I think it is, we have already dealt with her once.
Well, that is going to be the pep talk that I to get this mission back on track.
Yeah, that whole issue with the pulsar, she was trying to get involved, but luckily enough, we found a way through. Granted, this situation seems a hell of a lot more different than that, so I'll go with your play and back you up, should you need.
I appreciate that. Well, at the same...
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, at the same time, we still need to get this ship back into a proper working state. So I'm going to ask Commander Havoc, is there anything that we can do with the replicator that we have on board the shuttle to make any other additional upgrades or repairs to the Realm of Maven?
I smile and crack my knuckles and say, I could try a few things, though they may not exactly work, but let's see.
Well, at this point, I am highly convinced that we should at least attempt to do things differently. So, in this case, you have my full authorization to try any other experimental upgrades you'd like. Sans blowing yourself up, of course.
Look, explosions are a part of exploration and testing, but I'll make sure to keep those to a minimum. If you don't get it, I'm joking here.
All right.
You joke, acknowledge, and receive.
Kalos, who would you be asking that of? Adequate, just so I know.
To Morgan.
Okay, so Morgan from across the bridge, you hear Kalos ask the question. If you could repeat it out loud for us.
So, if a Q sent us back this far, what wording did you use?
So, I didn't exactly use specific wording. More so, I agree to a premise.
But what kind of premise? Because we're back this far. Did you ask for a rewind of current events or the beginning of something else?
Well, we spoke, and she suggested that we attempt to return the Realm of Maven back to the Muuat earlier than anticipated. I didn't exactly think at the time, more so, that it was going to be another 40, 50 years. More so, I was trying to make sure that the crew had its best chance of survival. So I will admit, that was a decision that, even though I thought through it, I still think this was the best course of action. And if we succeed, then I expect everything to be ready.
I'd hate to be in your shoes, but I understand your decision. The crew does come first.
And almost as if that's a good time for Galen to come in. Galen, you return with whatever you wanted to go replicate, I suppose.
Oh, just a beverage to calm nerves.
Ah. So I guess Galen, acting as waiter, comes up with a beverage, Morgan.
Alright, well, thank you, Doctor.
It's Earl Grey. You should drink a lot's hot.
I'm more of a Darjeeling kind of guy, but I appreciate it nonetheless.
Before he gets the tea in his hands, I give him a good confident slap on the shoulder and go sit down.
Okay.
Right. Well, in this case, I suppose I'm actually going to get things moving along. So I'm going to talk to the crew to actually formulate a game plan. So with Havoc and Karu, who were the only ones present, before this temporal event, what exactly do we know about the Muuat at this point in time? And how exactly can we do this differently? I want a crew opinions.
Right, well, Ensign Kerr will finish up her scan of Kalos just to make sure he's not affected by the ship mentally, because of the weird radiation.
That's entirely up to Kalos, really.
Well, she just did a wellness scan. She wasn't trying to do anything invasive. Just make sure his heart's still beating.
I'm just saying that if Kalos wants to impose an injury or something on himself, I'm going to let him make that call instead of me.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Okay. No, then, Kalos, you're fine.
All right,
Okay.
so then Kara will come up from doing that scan and give the basic species introductory briefing on their physiological situation.
All right.
Commander Havoc, can you fill us in with some of the technological scans you managed to do on the
It's at that moment I suddenly blank out on everything I did last time around. So
Yeah, I was gonna say. So I think to help you guys out here, Andromeda's gonna kind of insert herself into the conversation, and you can feel free to tell me to shut up and not monologue at you guys. But since it's been a while, I'll bring you guys up to speed. So Andromeda kind of steps forward and she says, "Well, to start with, the Muuat are a silicon-based life form that has the ability to mine safely the substance known as neutronium. Apparently, they were put there by my people, the Dorhini, as sort of a way to shield them from the fate of this doomed galaxy. I still don't know what that's about, but I feel like, given time, I will. Part of my people leaving them behind in this sort of protected area was that we gave them the means to advance technologically when they were ready. And so far, that means that they have achieved space flight. They are able to go faster than light, but they are limited by what are known as graviton catapults. And wherever they go, they have to build these graviton catapults to get back to where they came from. It's not uncommon for them to launch a large ship like this, and she motions around at the Ralma Maven, that is able to build and mine the resources required for a return catapult. This ship, however, was the very first attempt to leave their sort of protective zone. And because it did not return, they switched from a secular society to a very religious, zealotous religious type society. And I think that's most everything, besides the fact that I still think they would see me as a god, but might be more willing to listen to me if it came to that.
So you're saying this ship is the ship that was launched 50 years ago?
That is correct.
And if that's the case, the return trip might prove lethal to everyone here, as the alterations we did provided the extra safety required for the venture through the cloud.
Well, maybe I wasn't super clear earlier, but when I said where we were, I meant that we were already within the quote-unquote garden. We've returned, quote-unquote, from that little voyage. In fact, I'm honestly surprised we're not being hailed at this point.
I love time stuff. This is me saying it out of character.
May I do a sensor scan?
Yeah.
To see if there's anything?
Well, the security sensors are down, but you will notice there is a blinking light on the communications panel.
Sir, there's a blinking light on the communications panel. Would you like me to press it?
Not yet.
Very well, sir.
I wanna make sure exactly the status of the of these upgrades and the ship in the short amount of time I have given Havoc.
All right, Havoc, you there, buddy? Oh, no, sorry, I think I cut someone off there. Go ahead.
Question, Commander. What were they like, if they were religious 50 years from now, what were they like before that?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Are you asking what their society was like prior to our arrival?
Yes.
Well,
If
more
they were
like
religious-
prior to their ship
Prior
experience.
to
Exactly.
shifting to a religious-based cult, or I suppose that's the word, before that, were they explorers, warlike?
We made the determination that their society was similar to ours. However, after the ship went missing, they turned more into a religious culture. For they saw the since the ship didn't manage to return, that's where they started to become a more faith-based society.
But if the ship returns and their crew's not on it, and we somehow run into a ship, won't things be a bit awkward?
That's why we're trying to think on our feet.
So, Kalos? Now there's 2 blinking lights.
Sir, there's 2 blinking lights now.
Well, places everyone. I'm gonna look over to the captain and I'm like, well, this is how it starts. And I'm gonna be on screen.
All right, I'm gonna step out of the eye line of the screen or wherever the video would be taken from.
Okay, yeah, just probably on the other side of this where Andromeda is. And sort of very similar to the very first time that this happened. The screen is, for you guys, a little bit blurry, a little bit staticky. And you see this individual here. And the Muuat on the other side says, this is Commander Turad trying to reach anyone on the Ralma Maven. We're receiving you, but we're not getting a very clear picture.
Well, I look to the crew and I give them the lecture. Well, let's do this right this time. And at the same time, obvious, out of character, I'm saying that we can't hide the fact that the crew still perished. So we're still going to have to do first contact. So in character, I'm going to respond and say, Commander Tarud, this is Commander Lucas Morgan of the Federation Starship Adiona. We have a lot to discuss. Unfortunately, the crew of your ship did not make it. However, if you would permit to come on board, you could analyze exactly what happened to the crew yourself. We mean you no harm.
I'm sorry, is this a joke? You're playing a joke on me, right?
I assure you, it is no joke. Exactly what happened to your crew is something that we've been able to determine. But I think it's better that we discuss it in person.
Right. Well, I'm just going to go ahead and send a squad over. You can explain things to them.
That's completely acceptable.
Very well. And if we find out that this is some elaborate prank, trust me, someone's head's going to be on a platter.
That seems fair.
All right, and the transmission cuts. And, Kalos, you're now detecting on what limited sensors you have that are operable. You're now detecting that there is a small shuttlecraft headed for your shuttle bay.
So they're sending a small shuttlecraft over to us.
Do we have the ability to determine exactly who's on it? Or how many people are on it then? Rather.
Unfortunately, no. The limited sensor capability you have means that you can tell there's something coming towards you, but not the interior of it.
How about the sensors on board the shuttle that we have, Doc?
You certainly could send someone down to the shuttle to scan that way.
Yeah, Karu isn't needed at the moment. We already got the medical data. She can go down.
By all means, make it snappy.
All right, it'll be done in a game turn. I guess I'll be down in the shuttle.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a game turn, and you've got maybe 5 minutes before the shuttle will land in the very same bay where your shuttle is.
Well, at the same time, we need to prepare because the society is slightly different than how we encountered them before. So just in case, I want to make sure we don't actually. So, Doctor, just in case, if there's anything that you need to prep, now would be the time. But at the same time, I still want to foster a sense of nonviolence. And at this point, when it comes to Andromeda, you are something that I want to limit, first and foremost, their exposure. Because at least when they first encountered you on board the ship, that's when they immediately started to contact their planet. So at this point, I want to have a smoother and more controlled introduction.
I could step into what fares for the captain's ready room, I suppose.
I would appreciate that very much. We'll keep
Captain
an open.
will accompany her.
Okay.
All right, then. We'll keep an open combat, so if anything does go wrong, and if your presence is needed, then you could bail us out one more time.
All right.
That roll, was that going to be a reason science?
Yeah, so it's going to be a reason science assisted by the shuttle's sensor science, which I think is basically if someone could just give me a d20 roll, and you want to get below a 7. Actually, no, don't we have, yeah, we've actually got the Type 9 shuttle in there. So yeah, just roll off the Type 9 shuttle sheet.
Oh, look at that.
I knew I had some kind of sheet in there.
I don't think we took the shuttle, the fighter.
I thought you took both.
Yeah, Type
did
9
we take
shuttle and
both?
Valkyrie class, they're both small craft are there in the sheet list.
Yeah.
Oh, we did take both when we put them both on board the Rumble Maven?
That's what it says in my notes.
Okay, then never mind then.
All right, well,
So
at
we
this
do
point... Oh, go ahead.
You want me to roll for the shuttle, or is Wolfdog already rolled?
Why don't you do a Kalos, get some experience?
So sensors.
Science.
Okay.
And the shuttle has focus.
Okay. Well,
That's
Wow,
a 2.
you were 1 off. But okay, so
Wait,
yeah,
that thing has a 0 rating for science?
yeah, it has nothing for science.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I remember where I pulled that from correctly, that is verbatim the stats for it from the command source book.
Alrighty, yeah, so it's a 2.
Yeah. All right, so you're going to be able to ask a free question with your floating momentum, but what you learn is that the shuttlecraft is made out of the same neutronium alloy that the Rama Maven is made out of, meaning you can't really get a say inside view of the shuttle, but you can get sort of a fuzzy picture, and you're detecting maybe about 6 life forms.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll pass that on. Yeah, incoming shuttles matches our own physical type of hull. 6 possible life forms in.
Understood, Ensign.
Any hint of a weapons complement in the scan? That'll be my question.
No, you're not detecting any conventional weaponry on this thing. And even with your knowledge of the Rama Maven... Oh, hold on.
Yeah, it'd be like if there's any sort of a weapons blip, whether
Yeah,
internal or
so
external.
even with the Rama Maven's weapons and knowledge of them, you're not detecting anything on the shuttlecraft. It seems to just literally be a troop transport vessel.
All right, cool. Looks like a troop transport's no external weapons to worry about, Commander. Meanwhile, while I'm down in the shuttle, I'm gonna dump the medical data into the shuttle as well, so there's more than one.
Okay. So just to reiterate, they will be landing in the same shuttle bay where your shuttles are. So do you want to meet them down there, or do you want to have Kara bring them up?
Well, I thought Kara was just going to hide out and not engage anybody.
I mean, if that's her plan, that's her plan.
Yeah, unless the commander says otherwise, she is not initiating anything.
Oh, absolutely not.
All right, so
I mean, I don't want Kara to engage, but I mean,
yeah, she's not first contact. She's just
no
science, man.
But I myself will go down there along with Kalos.
Okay.
And Lieutenant Galen.
Okay. Let me just copy some tokens over real fast.
And Commander Havoc, I forgot, of course.
Alright, so there's Havoc on your side. Oops, hold on. Havoc. Followed by Galen. And Kalos. Boom. Alrighty. And yeah, that's everyone, I think, except for the captain, but his characters are hiding off screen for the moment. But they can come on screen whenever. So yeah, the four of you head down to the shuttle bay, and sure enough, as soon as you get down there, you see that the shuttlecraft from the Muuat is just now entering the bay. It swoops into the shuttle bay, makes a very delicate turn, and as soon as it lands on the deck, the back half, or not the back half, the back portion, opens up sort of from two settings, so it retracts both into the top and the bottom of the vessel, and the bottom part forms a ramp from which 6 Muuat immediately come out, and you can see that they are all armed with some form of, it appears to be a rifle by the looks of it, but you don't really know if it's energy based or if it's, say, physical projectile based. You've got no clue. But we'll say these 6 individuals are going to pile out. And unless you do anything hostile, they are actually going to surround you.
Well, I'm going to attempt to diffuse the tension roll.
Okay. Certainly.
I'm gonna give a glance over to Commander and see what he wants me to do.
Nothing yet. We're not going to be aggressive.
All right.
We're at least going to attempt.
May I do a telepathy check, please?
You certainly can. Who would you like to be
BEAGGRESS?
I would like to try to read one of the Muuat.
Okay. Any Muuat in particular?
Well, I wouldn't know I wouldn't know the leaders, of course, but I suppose the one that is up front without a guard.
Okay. I specifically chose a different token for him because he's different art. So there's something about him that's different. Maybe it's his armor pattern. Maybe it's the way his armor glows. There's just something different about him from the others. So if you want to roll me... Well, let's ask, what are you trying to gain from this telepathy? Are you trying to gain his mood, his intentions? You know, what
his intention.
His intentions.
To see what their intentions are.
Roll me a insight security, and this is going to be a difficulty of 2. And you do have a focus.
Okay. So 2d20?
Yep.
Okay.
Now, you can spend momentum here to roll more than 2d20. You do have 6 of it at the moment, so it would be 1 momentum for 1 dice, so 3d20. It would be 3 momentum total for 2 dice, or 4d20, or all 6 momentum for 5d20.
What do you guys think? Should I spend a momentum?
I'd do it.
Okay. Well, my luck. So, insight security.
Mm-hmm.
Submit.
Yeah, remember, it's always good to use momentum because if you roll high, you get some of it back. So that there's no real risk in throwing one.
So I'd like to spend a momentum, so I do 3d20?
Correct.
Okay. And focus. Rolling.
Hey, look at that. Your 3rd dice got you the 2 successes you need. So yeah, you are going to know that this guy here, the leader, is simply maintaining, or not maintaining, he's simply establishing a foothold. It would be standard Muuat procedure to sort of, establish a perimeter, secure the situation, kind of a thing. He doesn't really have a intention to hurt you unless you start attacking his people.
Very
but
well.
The important thing is that he is supremely confused because the one thought that you keep seeing in his head is, are these actually aliens?
While Kalos is looking into his mind, I'm gonna actually be looking at their weapons, kind of cocking my head a little bit, trying to get a really, really good look at to try and determine what type of weapon it actually is.
Okay.
Whether it's energy, energy weapon, or actually uses matter.
I would say that would be a insight security at difficulty 3. Unless you physically got your hands on one.
Actually, I'm gonna ask, Actually, I'm not going to say anything because that would be overstepping the bounds right there. I'm not going to literally ask, can I take a look at your gun? That would be kind of weird.
That's how we got into the situation in the first place.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. So yeah, I'm just going to cock my head, look at it, like you try to see if I get some there. I know I don't have any focus for this, so here's to luck.
No, that's a big negative. So yeah, you're just not able to tell if it's projectile or energy based, unfortunately.
Interesting weapons you have there.
Well, at this point, I'm still gonna attempt my diffuse detention roll, but I'm also going to see if I can attempt first contact the right way. So, how would I roll this? Would it be a control command with a focus, and also, I guess I get a bonus d20 because I don't want them to.
Command. And I would say that would be at a difficulty of 2.
Okay.
But you would be rolling 3d20 because of your diffuse the tension roll.
I see. Yeah, we're gonna try with control command.
Very nice. You're back up to full momentum. So, how do you want to narratively go about it?
Well, as they surround us, I'm just going to say, well, it's nice to finally have you on board. There's a lot to discuss. But first and foremost, I should inform you about the state of your crew. I do want to go straight into the diplomacy, less so to see if I could, and the reason why I'm doing so is because I want to see that if I could look at Kalos and determine that this guy is not necessarily attempting to be overly aggressive and hostile for us, then maybe reason would calm him down more so than any other opening greeting. Because they are semi-fanatical. Well, they would have been, but they're not at this point in time.
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
You looking over at me?
I'm going to look over at you to see, I would assume, if he could determine that they're not actually going to hurt us, you would probably give me some sort of facial tick or some sort of nod, or shaking your head. I think that's reasonable to determine, would you say?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah, okay.
So you look over, and I make eye contact with you. I guess that's the thing. I'm confused. So I guess I would shake my head to say they mean no harm. I suppose.
Whatever facial tick you want.
I'll shake my head, but I'll do an iffy thing with my hand.
Okay. But yes, indeed. I mean, again, as I stated over the hail, my name is Commander Morgan, the the Federation Starship Adiona. And I've come actually to, unfortunately, be the bearer of bad news, but also hope for the future.
So the leader kind of steps up to you, and I think I've said it in past sessions with the Muuat, but since we have someone new and it's been a while, the Muuat are pretty tall. Like, they're 7 to 9 feet tall, depending on their configuration. But so this guy's a good 7.5.
Space Marine.
Yeah. He looks kind of down at you, and he studies you for a little bit, and then he looks to Galen, he looks to Kalos, looks to Havoc, and he finally just steps back and says, yeah, that's all I needed to know. Yeah, I'm convinced you're aliens. This is a thing. Huh. I guess I should say something important, huh? Because I feel like what I'm about to say is going to go down in history. So, men, why don't you lower those? And he makes a lowering gesture with his hand, and his men all kind of look at one another and lower their weapons. He says, my name is Leader Prulish. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Morgan.
Well, it is a pleasure as well. Believe me, the feeling is mutual. Doctor, can you explain exactly how we exactly what happened to the crew of this ship to Leader Prula, or Prulish rather.
Oh, did we lose Galen? He might be AFK.
Galen.
Yeah, he's AFK.
Sorry, phone. I just dropped the phone. I forgot to press send. What's up?
So,
I asked you.
go ahead.
I asked you to explain exactly what happened to the Romulan's crew to Mr. Prulish over here.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, they were exposed to high levels of I can't remember the term of it's radiation. Neutrino radiation, and unfortunately they did not survive. If I had my equipment here, I could give you more scans and information on it. He'll just go into the whole list.
Prulish just sort of looks over at Galen and says, "So, you mean to say that everyone on this ship is dead save for you guys?"
Unfortunately, that would be correct. We found this ship a little bit, probably exactly from what we could determine from your computers, not exactly where you intended for it to be. And when we arrived to investigate, the crew, unfortunately, had didn't already perish. But we thought the proper thing, at least in our culture, was to notify you. So we did, to the best of our ability. Here we are, trying to track you down and to see if you could learn exactly the truth of what happened to your people. But it's also important for us to get to learn about new species and new cultures. So I hope that we could turn something into I hope that we could turn this moment of mourning into something uniquely special.
Prulish, for either he just is not really invested in these people's safety, or he's already come to terms with it. Like, it's very odd, but he seems very calm about all this, and he simply says, well, they knew what they were getting into when they got on this vessel. We always knew it would be risky. You three, and he points at three of his men. And you, and he points at Kalos. Why don't you strike me as a security man? Why don't you show these three around?
I would, but I just transferred over to the ship. I'm not very familiar with the layout of it.
I do have somebody else that would be able to assist, and I would tap my combat and say, Ensign Caro, can you join us, please?
Proceeding, sir.
All right, so Caro, you pop on out of the shuttle.
So, you wanted me to give them the tour, Commander Moore?
By all means.
Would you like me to go with her, Commander? Very well.
I'll motion to the other Muuat. It's like, if you'll come this way, please.
Yeah, so these three here are going to kind of just group around you, and yeah, you five are going to go on the little ship's tour. So while they are off screen, what about the rest of you?
So Prulish left with Caro and...
Oh, no, did I grab Prulish? I didn't
yes.
grab Prulish.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
He likes them females.
Well, I would motion to Prulish to say, well, I mean, I think it's probably best that we go to your captain's quarters and resolve this investigation if there's anything else that you need to do. But by all means, there's other members of my crew that I'd like you to meet. So if we'd like to come up to the bridge.
Certainly. Lead the way.
So while we're doing that, and while we're having this transitional period, I'd still expect at least Andromeda to be hidden away in the captain's quarters.
Right.
Right. But
Well, is that the quarters or the captain's ready room on the
or
bridge?
the ready room, whichever one you two ducked into.
I think it was the ready room.
Yeah,
The
we
ready
ducked
room.
into the ready room, so that way
Okay,
we were near the bridge but out of.
Great. Well, I'm specifically taking them to the quarters. I just wanted to make sure, so he could look at the viewport and anything else that he may necessarily find of interest, and eventually we'll transfer to the bridge.
Okay. So he steps inside. He takes a look around. He does bend down to touch the armor fragments of the previous captain. And he kind of tilts his head to the side and stands up and says, "Huh, I'm no scientist, but I know a disintegration when I see it. I don't really know what alien weaponry is like, but I'm pretty sure it took a hell of a lot to put him down. And you don't strike me as the sort to really... You don't have killer's eyes."
I can assure you, we have no weapons that have the ability to do this, especially not to this scale.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I so far believe your story. I can't really say if others will, but I'm on board so far.
I'm curious. Do your people have what exactly is your system of government? Because I can understand that this is a probably big momentous thing for both of our peoples. So is there anybody else that you think that we need to communicate, to understand, to get legalities out of the way now?
Let me think. See, this is something I thought was always weird, part of training. They never really prepared us for if we found anyone out here. We always just kind of assumed we were alone. I guess technically I should be reporting back to Commander Tarud at this point, but also it's part of regulation that I have to get a full kind of handle on the situation first.
I can imagine that you want to have something at least substantial to tell your bosses so they can answer any questions that they probably have, right?
Yeah, it's kind of the thing where, I could tell them now what I know, but they're just going to tell me, well, go find out more.
I completely get you. In any case, while we're doing that meandering, I'm actually going to tell them exactly the ins and outs of the Federation, culture, etc., etc.
Okay.
And then,
to his credit, he does, as was shown in the archives, he does give a very basic overview of the Muuat system of government. And before, since you are in the past, it is a similar to the Federation type government where it's sort of I think it's a representational democracy, I think is the proper term for it, I think. And more or less, they're a very peaceful species that uses weaponry as sort of a last resort type thing.
So I'm curious, what exactly would you say is super specific about the culture of the Muuat? At least in the past, is there anything or any specific iconography that you would say, at least just as a regular citizen, would latch onto?
Well, growing up, they kind of tell us all about the Dorhini. Supposedly, they are gods of some sort. I never really bought into it, though. I always just thought the Dorhini were like a myth that you use to scare your children into behaving.
I actually physically flinch when he states Dorhini and gods.
Maybe you shouldn't do that unless you're gonna roll a check, because they kind of.
I'm doing it like a little subtle, slight flinch.
Roll me a control and con there, buddy. Difficulty 2.
Silly goose.
Good news is you have 6 momentum.
Actually, that should be 5 actually, because he his last the check for the security guy was difficulty 2.
Yeah, but you gain back momentum, so I think you're still a cap.
Okay.
I'm throwing a momentum at this to give me 3d20.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I don't got a focus for this. Woo!
Alrighty. So, with the 2 successes, you successfully hide your spasm.
All honesty, I would actually. Mari would actually do that. So there's a bit of flinch at the mention of Dorhini, but thankfully he does not catch it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, Mr. Broish, how exactly did you come into your line of work? What exactly were you before? I assume this is primarily militaristic endeavor.
Sort of just grew up near a spaceport. I always liked looking up at the stars, and easiest way to get on a ship is to run security. I mean, granted, we haven't really run into anyone out here, but the Dorhini teachings tell us that we should always be prepared.
So primarily, you mostly wanted to explore.
That's about right, yeah.
Well, I can see that we definitely have a lot in common. How exactly would you describe your Commander Tarud?
He's a bit of a hard ass. Likes things done his way. And if you piss him off, you might as well be running entire laps of the ship.
How easily do you think this man is going to take to the story that you met aliens?
I imagine he's going to want to come over himself. That or he's going to want some sort of proof. I didn't really bring any imaging. He like pats himself down. I didn't bring any imaging devices with me. I mean, I could always take you over to our ship.
Well, I think at least trying to get your ship operational, we've had a semi-working understanding of your technology. I do believe it's easier for us to bring him over here, though.
Well, if that's what you think is best, if you don't mind, can I see the bridge?
Of course.
All right. So we cut to the bridge, and yeah, he just kind of looks around, takes in everything, and says, yes, this looks all right." And he looks at the door to the captain's ready room. "Do you mind if I check in there?"
I think before that's necessary, it's probably better to exactly get a handle on Commander Tarud.
He turns to you and says, I'm not sure I follow."
I'm saying is that since first contact is most definitely important to us, and there are other things on this ship that you probably may not necessarily expect or be prepared for. And I'm saying it's probably best to have an audience, a small audience, you and Tarud.
I mean, if I just tell him you have something locked up in the captain's ready room, he's just going to tell me to go in and find out what it is.
I understand that. But at the same time, it's not exactly so much that I'm trying to keep something from you or to hold a surprise. I'm just saying that if it were me, if there was something else on the ship that may not necessarily be what I expect, I'd probably want somebody else with me to at least get a handle on the situation. But if you insist, you may...
Out of character, can the captain hear any of this going on outside?
I assume that Morgan kept an open comm so that you and Andromeda could listen in the entire time.
I did.
Then as Captain Williams, I would recommend to Andromeda see if we could use the site-to-site transporter on the shuttle to put her in the shuttle.
Andromeda kind of looks at you, Captain, and says, I mean, we could try that, but we're gonna have to tell them eventually, and I feel like the sooner we just show them that I'm here, the better.
I'm still kind of nervous based off what Commander Morgan told us. The moment they went religious, we pretty much lost control of the whole situation.
Well, from what this Prulish character has said so far, he doesn't strike me as a religious sort.
Alrighty. I guess I'll leave it up to Commander Morgan.
Well, if Prulish isn't necessarily going to send Tarut over, then
Well, that was all head to head. That wasn't over the.
No, yeah, I understand. I'm talking in terms of my own POV.
All right.
If Prulish doesn't necessarily want to send Tarut over, then I have no problem with him experiencing Andromeda in a closed environment. But I personally need to make sure that the super cool radioing back to the home planet doesn't happen. That this happens in a more controlled fashion.
Okay.
But that's me thinking out loud. So, by all means, we could walk into the captain's room.
Alright. So, yeah, you both walk into the captain's ready room. Prulish kind of looks around. Notices Andromeda hiding in the corner. She kind of does that small wave back at him. And he goes, "Huh. Well, you did have a surprise for me."
I did indeed. Like I said, there's a lot to discuss.
Many people react that way. Hello, I'm Captain Williams, the commanding officer of this.
Prulish looks to you, Williams, and says, "Oh, sorry, I didn't notice you there. Yes, hi, Captain."
Good to meet you. I'm letting Commander Morgan take the lead on all this. I was primarily here as an observer, if you.
Well, he's doing a good job so far. Probably
I
better
agree.
than I would if I was meeting aliens for the first time in any species' life. But you, kind of points at Andromeda. Are you what I think you are? Andromeda says, possibly. And Prulish just kind of goes, "All right, so that's a thing." Huh.
It is a thing. But I think it's probably best that now that you know, that we do this introduction the slowest way possible. Because, like I said, it's a big surprise. So, Mr. Prulish, this is Andromeda.
Hello, Andromeda. And he kind of does bow his head slightly, not to the degree that they did before. And he says, I guess it's kind of an honor to meet you. I thought you were just kind of a childhood fantasy story thing. It's kind of cool. Andromeda just kind of tilts her head to the side and says, "Yeah, it's kind of cool. You're not going to do anything stupid like go screaming to your superiors." And Prulish shakes his head and says, No. Nah, you know what? Can I be honest with you folks?
Hit me.
Well, I kind of always been different among my people. It's not like, they're all religious people and I'm not, and I've just kind of always been open to the new and the exciting. This is new and exciting. Would you mind if I called a different ship and told them about what I found? Because I feel like if I told Tarut about this, Tarut's going to kind of use it to advance his own career. If you know what I mean.
I can understand that. And primarily, I would ask you to do what you think is best, but I'd like you to keep in mind, at least when our culture meets with others for the first time, we try not to fast track a large societal change, knowing that there are other people in the universe, and especially people that may have existed in our history prior. It's a big shock to any of us. So, with the best of intentions, I ask that you take this slow. And if there's any other type of planetary governor or scientific people that you feel like would be better notified first, then I would appreciate that to be best. We want to take this in the best way possible, and we want to take it slow.
Yeah, I could do that. Do you mind if I go use a console on the bridge?
Sure.
Cool. Just kind of looks around again, looks at Andromeda, nods his head, and goes out to go tap on the console next to Connery. And that leaves the three of you in the ready room. And it is at this point that Kalos and Keru, you eventually come up to the bridge with the other security personnel. So you guys can also interject yourselves into the scene as you wish. So the three of you in the captain's ready room at the moment. Andromeda kind of looks to both you, Captain, and to you, Commander, and says, he's a bit of an oddball, isn't he?
He's different.
I mean, I like different, but, you know. I had a thought, but I feel like you're not going to like it.
I'm listening.
Well, I still feel like sort of traveling to the homeworld and making myself known is a good idea, but I feel like now that it's not going to go the way it did before, you know, how do I want to say this? And she hesitates and kind of thinks for a moment and says, maybe I should stay here for the 50 years and make sure that they don't end up like they were before.
Well, that's something
that definitely changes our mission, doesn't it?
It most definitely does.
Well, I mean, I obviously don't understand how this Q person works, but for you it'll be an instant, but for me it'll be 50 years. Then you can just pick me up again, and then we can go on our merry way.
Well, gotta think about this out loud. Temporal first contact is not exactly the way that they teach it at the academy. We're already flying by the seat of our pants here.
Well, this whole mission was an exploratory one. If our passenger of note wishes to get off early, are we in our rights to deny her that?
No. But at the same time, even though we have a pretty good idea that they probably won't, do we exactly know what's going to happen in 50? If you wish to travel to the homeworld, I feel like that could be arranged. But staying is a little bit early to be determined.
Not to mention we will be basically dropping a demigod on them.
I still think it's best for us to attempt as much as possible to get a proper foothold first. But, by all means, we can't force you to stay.
Well, as I said, it would just be a temporary thing for you guys. I honestly just think it would be interesting. But I mean, unless you have any strong objections.
Well, my primary thing is, if we go away for... Oh, you mean using a temporal sort of situation to accelerate ourselves to the end of that 50 years while you're down on the planet. Is that what you're...
Exactly. And who knows? Maybe, you know, if this prulish guy is what he seems to be and he talks to the right people and the Muuat don't go and become a religious, zealotous society, you know, maybe when you come back in 50 years, I might actually have some brand new toys for Havoc.
I'm sure she would like that very much.
Head pops in. Did somebody say my name?
Where's a space lawyer when you need one?
I'm the ship's only space lawyer.
No, my main reason is basically we would be breaking the Prime Directive by allowing her to stay down there, considering that we're putting it... Granted, her people were already here, so I guess it really doesn't matter. but it's just really messy, especially since we have to put ourselves into a temporal event in order to finish what we started here, so to speak.
And that's the whole moral quandary of this little episode is, do you let her go?
We've already made a decent enough impact on the culture just by one person seeing you here.
One person is not a guarantee of any.
Yes, that's exactly my point. It's not exposing the entire culture to a god figure. At this point, it's no different from those UFOs that used to be seen on Earth way back in the 20th century.
By all means, I'm going to be slightly selfish here, and I said I've already committed one violation of the Temporal Prime Directive, and I'm reluctant to make others.
I agree. Andromeda, I strongly caution against you staying on the planet.
All right. Well, let's go out and see what Prulish has to say at this point, then. And yeah,
All right.
Yeah, you guys
else,
return to the bridge.
You're still in the lead on this.
You turn to the bridge, and Prulish kind of looks up at you as you come back out, and he says, well, I have some good news. Apparently, I've got the head of the Science Academy ready and willing to strip this, or not strip this ship, but basically tear at the databanks and get every little bit of iota of information that it contains about life beyond the Veil. I've got more than a handful of governors on the planet that want to meet one of the aliens, and I've also got some of the military higher-ups. They want me to, well, to put it bluntly, they want to promote me and make me the official liaison for all this.
Well, we're all thrust into spectacular situations at one point in our life. Did you exactly tell them about our passenger?
Nah, I left her out.
I appreciate that very much. So, when does all of this take place? Are they going to come to us, or should we come to them?
I mean, probably would be better to go to them, but if you asked them to come out here, I don't think any of them would say no.
What would be their travel time?
A couple days, at best.
Out of character, I think we still got 3 weeks before the Adiona shows up, right?
No. You've got 50 years before the Adiona shows up.
Yeah, there's no Adiona here.
Well, no, I know we jumped forward, but the Adiona, didn't they take 3 weeks to make the same distance?
Well, the difference is that you were using a unstable graviton catapult. The difference is that these are still being actively maintained because they haven't gone all, Mechanicus and 40K and hitting things with hammers to fix all their problems.
Yeah, so.
And as far as I remember, the ship we're on right now was restored to how it was 50 years before we even showed up. So all the changes we made are gone.
Oh, okay, so this ship is actually in working order, more or less.
Well, I would say whatever order it was when you first discovered it, minus the radiation problem. So some things like the security sensors aren't working properly, but yeah, it's more or less as it should be.
But we're gonna either Q's gonna zap us back to our present, or we're waiting 50 years for the Adiona to show up with the crew.
We're gonna do some first contact.
But that's the thing too. Now, since the ship is here and not out there, they have no reason to even come through here. Oh man, time travel. So there'd be no reason for us to even investigate the place because we would have no way to get through the barrier, which means if Andromeda stayed here, we had no ways to recall her. It's a separate timeline.
Basically, we're dependent upon the Deus Ex Machina to get back to our ship is what I'm trying to get at. We have no way to hail the Adiona.
Was the Adiona even commissioned 50 years ago?
No.
It's exactly not, because we're experimental. Exactly.
Some of you
not even
aren't
born.
Okay, my understanding
I don't
of
even
what
mean...
exact moment we went to is completely misunderstood that night.
Oh yeah, I made a crazy deal.
To the Muuat, this is literally a few days after they launched the ship. Yeah. Or a few hours, something like that.
Okay, now things are a little bit more weird.
We have made a grave mistake.
Time travel. Don't do it, kids.
It's less of a mistake and more than a trade of equivalent exchange, with us being in a weird situation now instead of them.
To make sure this continues to go smoothly, instead of we need to potentially give ourselves in the future, if we return, an excuse and a reason to return. Even with Q's Deus Ex Machina, that's something that needs to be, that we need to figure out.
So, question: is this being said to this crew right now? Because I have no idea.
You've pulled everyone aside and are having a hushed conversation in the captain's ready room, while Connery and Carew kind of watch Prulish to make sure he doesn't do anything weird.
Yeah. Then with that, I suggest that we leave data showing them where the wormhole is and advise them to send a probe. That will give them all the notes on where else to look, since they've already proceeded beyond the warp speed, so to speak.
Probably.
I do have an idea, Captain Commander.
Yeah, so we give them basically a target to shoot for with their next set of experiments. That way they can proceed on their own, and somebody will get the hint of where they're...
I have a suggestion.
Go ahead.
Back in past, we have Connery and the Type 9 shuttle. The Type 9 shuttle was retrofitted to withstand neutrino radiation. He's wearing the hollow emitter with my name carved into it, just how we found him. So, I propose, if we avoided one future event by having him correct an issue, why not send him back again? It's a simple message to investigate this location for a crew of Adiona to come and investigate. We could see how they've progressed, while all of our memory would be subsequently erased. And if you're looking for someone to help guide this culture, if you're not going to allow Andromeda, I volunteer. I'm already aboard the Adiona in the future and the past. It'll be an interesting way to talk to myself.
Too much time, too much temporal math, man. Leave me alone for a moment.
May I interject, Captain?
Go ahead.
I feel leaving anyone to lead these people is a very bad idea.
How do you feel that?
Well, we're interfering, and they won't naturally get to where they're going.
We've
already interfered by bringing the ship back, and it's come back early. And we will give them connections to the wormhole, so they will be able to explore safely. Perhaps they went into a religious ways they did because they were not able to explore safely because the ship did not return.
Well, the warp travel past discovering a ship and responding to it after the Prime Directive or after a discovery in space doesn't violate Prime Directive.
All right.
So granted, I understand what you're saying, but it's not violating the word of the law. That's how the Vulcans found us. It's just we happen to survive our trip.
I can also place safeguards within my program that if they attempt to access information that they should not have, I can self-terminate.
Out of character, what is the current determination for photonic intelligences at this point? Are they considered sentient or not?
I would believe, from what I know, we have already done the Voyager thing where the Doctor has successfully argued his case in a court of law. So I don't think they're fully. They don't have full rights yet.
But they are considered sentient.
They are considered sentient, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so like I think with the holograms, it's like with Data and the Doctor. Since Data was considered sentient, he had the right to his own choices.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. But basically to vow to commit suicide if something's discovered in your code is a whole nother level, I think.
It's to keep safe information that they shouldn't have access to, and it's also a deterrent because what else could they lose? You know.
Yeah, it's like having you sign up for Section 31, man.
Section 30 what?
That doesn't exist anymore.
Wait.
Wink, wink.
Excuse me?
If we do this, there is no risk of me being lost from the Adiona because I'll still be on the ship. And if the ship does come here, well, I'm just an older version. Literally.
Well, technically, I'm still an observer here, but Morgan, I'll give you my recommendation if you want it. But essentially, I'm leaving this call to you. This is still your away mission. I'm not going to steal it from you.
Well, that is quite a big decision. And at the same time, I am always reluctant. But at the same time, let's do things differently. I mean, Lieutenant Dalen, my doctor, you have my permission and my authorization to remain on the planet for the foreseeable future.
Very well. I'll make the necessary changes to Connery and prepare the shuttle to follow the similar course it ventured on when we first encountered it.
I think leaving, no offense to Andromeda out of character, but probably leaving Galen, our Starfleet officer, there over the next 50 years is probably better than leaving their demi.
Yeah, I feel it would definitely leaving her there would affect things negatively.
All right. So, Morgan, the moment you say that words and you make your decision, everything stops again. And you feel someone tapping your shoulder.
How can I help you?
Out of character, that still pisses me off a little bit.
I mean, that's the whole point. But yeah, Q just sort of smiles and says, "Well, you handled that quite well. I think you've made the changes necessary at this point. You ready to get back?"
Well, now more than ever. I'm interested to see what's going to happen.
Very well. She snaps her fingers. And Morgan, you find yourself on the bridge of the Adiona. Everyone who should be there is there. You check the start date, and you are literally an hour before you arrive at the location where you first found the Rama Maven. Nobody else seems to be acting out of the ordinary. In fact, no one else besides Commander Morgan knows that all that just happened. I hate
I want
to
to materialize on the bridge.
I would say I hate to take that away from you guys as players, but I think from a narrative standpoint, if Morgan's the only one that knows, it definitely sets him up for some interesting roleplay.
No, I
Galen,
completely agree.
Galen wants to materialize on the bridge next to Commander Kalos.
Okay, sure. Poof.
Ah!
Lieutenant Commander,
Doctor?
you have dodged my physical examination 4 times this week. I'm now giving you an official order to come down for examination with Captain's permission.
You don't need my permission to work in the med bay.
Excellent. Lieutenant Commander, if you would follow me, please.
Very well.
Thank you. Now, escort him to med bay.
All right.
Oh, can I do a insight command check on Kalos, so I could determine his mood.
Yeah, sure.
And a nice reversal of what happened earlier.
Yeah, go for it. And I'll say that you guys are.
What is this, 2d20?
Yep, 2d20.
And
Hey, look at that. So I would say, Kalos, you tell him how you feel, but just remember, you don't remember anything that just happened.
Is that that was a 1, right? Difficulty 1.
Yep. So you're back up to full for as much as it matters.
Very annoyed I'm having to go get examined. Always hate getting touched by stuff, especially doctors. Because I know I'm in the best shape of my life.
It's okay, his hands are always warm.
Oh, God.
Don't touch me.
Room temperature.
Dear God.
Yeah, Morgan, that's what you got.
that's what I get. Well, in that case, I'll just smile.
All right.
So, is there anything on sensors that I'll ask Lieutenant Merrick?
Merrick.
Out of character.
Merrick says, I am detecting some form of neutronium alloy ahead of us, sir. Don't exactly know what it is yet.
Well, in that case, places everybody. Let's go see what's out there.
All right. And
Kalos is in sick bay.
Yeah, and that is where we're actually going to end the session, because I think that's a perfect bookend to this little arc. So, players, thank you so much for the past 10 sessions. This is where we're going to end the stream, so players stick around because we're going to handle things like reputation and milestones and scheduling. But to anyone watching on Twitch or YouTube, thank you guys so much for watching this year, and we will be back on the 22nd of January, hopefully. So, with that, bye-bye, stream.